What stopped you from killing yourself? Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. 4 years ago, I walked out of my house to jump off a bridge. I was over the railing and was about to jump, but a woman was walking her dog and saw me. And I thought, I don't want her to see this. So I went over to her and we talked. She was lovely. She let me pet her dog. I walked home feeling a little better after that. Story 2. Usually it is because I know my mom couldn't survive it and I don't want to put my family through something like that twice. Once though, that wasn't enough. My sister-in-law sent me a funny picture of their kid. That's when I realized they would have to explain to a 7-year-old what happened. To this day, 5 years later, she has no idea she saved my life. Story 3. The grip safety on a Kimber pistol. If you don't push the back of the grip down, it will not fire. I either got luckily or subconsciously stopped myself. I'll never forget that squeeze and nothing. I think I woke up for the first time in my life after that. Things still ain't roses, but I would have missed out on a lot had someone not designed a safety feature a long time ago. Story 4. I had gone to Walmart, was thinking suicide because of pain from cauda equina surgery. I was looking at kitchen things and there was a lady in the aisle. She looked like she'd been crying and I asked her if she was okay. She told me her daughter had killed herself a few weeks prior, and she was just so sad. Turns out her daughter had injured her back, had surgery, and just couldn't take the pain anymore. What are the chances? It still amazes me. No longer suicidal. It lasted about a year. Recovery was no joke. 8 broken vertebrae, loads of hardware. Story 5. The last time? My dog. I had no idea what would happen to her, and I couldn't bring myself to take her with me. Reply. My dog would never have understood. I was planning on waiting until he died of old age. I got help, got better. He suddenly died at 9 when I wasn't home. I held him against me and my heart was broken. But instead of making a plan, I called my aunt, and she gave me his sister that day. I held on to her until she passed in my arms at 15. It was the long, slow goodbye I needed. My darling boy died in 2012. There is not a day I don't miss him. I changed my whole life so drastically that I haven't wanted to die. I don't want to seem like some magic BS, but I put the work in to understand myself and how to have my brain and still be happy. And I am. I went through 2013 to 2016 of middling contentedness. Met my husband. And every week I am so full of joy I feel like I am dying. And I hug my dogs and my sons, and I am so thankful for my darling boy and his sweet sister for keeping me alive. Story 6. I honestly have no idea. My attempt should have been successful by all accounts. I ingested the gel of a Duragesic fentanyl patch and woke up around 2 days later. I should have died from the overdose since there was no medical aid rendered. I was 16 at the time and had no experience with drugs of any kind. I'm 37 now and happily married. I'm glad I'm still here. Story 7. My very close friend had a very close friend of his commit suicide. I saw the impact it had on my friend. I was there for him that week. We met up and he talked about his friend who had passed. I promised myself at that moment that I would never, ever attempt anything like that again. I couldn't do that to my friend and put him through everything again. Over a decade later, I'm sitting in bed typing this, and my friend is now my husband, snoring next to me. I kept my promise, and I am happier than I've ever been in my entire life. Story 8. Driving down a huge snowy hill with gas pedal floored, my car spun out of control, completed several 36-0s, and came to an uneventful stop in a ditch, missing the giant boulders I intended on hitting. Undeterred, I walked down the road a mile and decided to jump in front of the next truck that came by. A rather large delivery truck approached. As I prepared to leap in front of him close enough that he couldn't swerve to miss me, the driver gave the biggest, friendliest, most genuine smile and wave I had ever seen. I kind of froze and sheepishly waved back. I realized that solving my problems would have just given him problems. Problems that he didn't deserve. He saw my crashed car down the road, turned around, picked me up and spent nearly an hour out of his day bringing me home on a very snowy winter day. A genuine smile can do more than just brighten a day. It can save a life. It saved mine after all. Story 9. To be honest, the only thing that stopped me because I'm afraid that if my attempt failed that everyone will know about it. It's kinda embarrassing for me, because I'm still in school, so yeah. Or maybe I'll get injured and can't walk or something. I've had enough problems. Story 10. No idea. I was ready. I was sitting there, noose in hand, girlfriend, on the phone, crying, begging, pleading, but I didn't care. It's not a feeling you can really describe. I don't know if it's a feeling. It was nothingness. I didn't feel anything. I wasn't sad or scared. I didn't care about anything she was saying. She was saying all the usual things you'd think of to say, like to think about my family, the future, yada yada. But it didn't faze me. I didn't care about who found my body, anything, so I hung up the call and just sat there thinking about nothing for a while, just blank. And I waited, not sure what I was waiting for. Like I said, I wasn't scared to do it. I didn't feel anything. And then I kinda just snapped out of it. Story 11. One time, my mom went to South America, and I figured it was the perfect time. I could use her car. I was going to put the hose in the exhaust and crack the back window and put the other end in. I had the hose out, the car all the way in the back of the driveway. I was 19. I set the hose down and pulled up a chair. I lit a marijuana cigar I rolled, and I figured it would be my last one. So I'm sitting in the chair getting high as hell, and I imagined my mom getting the call in South America and having to come home because of me. My two little sisters were with her, and I imagined it all. I put the hose away, went inside. That was 28 years ago. I think about it all the time. So I guess weed? I don't smoke anymore, but I'm glad I'm here. Weed saves lives. Story 12. November 2022. Bad breakup. Best friend passed away. Got laid off. Moved to a new city, and my first bout of depression. I remember I had a bottle of Benadryl, researched 4-time lethality limit, and made sure I had enough. I wrote a letter, which I still have to this day, and I was on the couch and started crying. Everything hurt. My brain, my feelings, my body, my soul, all of it. I started with a handful of pills and a bottle of water. I remember my inner thoughts saying, just do it. No more hurt, no more burden. You won't be lonely in hell or heaven. I stared at them in my hand. Sure as shit, my phone rang, and it was my mom. I stared at the phone and then started crying harder, and I answered, and I remember telling her to save me. Please save me. Her voice was so calm but firm. I am crying right now, to be honest, thinking of it. She started praying, and then started having me repeat that I am loved and important, and that I am necessary, and many other positive things. Thank you for this. I needed to remember what I am here for. It's been over a year, and I am so grateful for a great family and the most amazing friends. Story 13. I told someone. Depression distorts your thinking so completely. It's hard for a person who has never experienced it to understand. When I was deep in depression, killing myself made perfect sense. It wasn't dramatic or desperate or sad. It was the logical solution to my despair. But I was worried about the negative impact on people in my life. I worked out a method that wouldn't leave a mess, and a plan where the most likely to find me would be a trained first responder. Still sucks for them, I know. The only other problem was how to avoid the shock for my friends and family. So I thought, I'll just tell them. Once I explain what I'm doing and why they will understand. I'm meaningless and worthless, so they'll probably be relieved. This all made 110% sense to me. So I took my best friend to lunch and told her calmly that I was planning to kill myself. I did not get very far into my carefully prepared and totally logical, to me, speech before she began sobbing and begging me not to do it, and asking what she could do to help. I was shocked by her reaction. My distorted thinking had me convinced she'd see the logic, thank me for letting her know, and we'd be on our way. I was wrong. So this snapped me out of that particular delusion and led me to tell my dad I needed his help and support. Telling people and seeing how much they loved me, and deepening my connection with the people who loved me instead of pulling further away, was a first step in climbing out of that hole. Therapy, medication, exercise, and a change in diet rounded out the treatment plan. Story 14. Someone calling 911 on me. I went to my favorite lookout spot on the mountain, wrote my notes, watched the sunset, took a couple shots of cheap vodka and all the pills I brought with me, and went and sat on the hood of my car to wait for darkness. I lost track of time, but 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, the cops and ambulance were there. Either someone else on the lookout called the cops or my mom did after I texted her goodbye. I don't know who. Nobody told me. I'm so thankful they did, though. They saved my life. Story 15. Not me, but an older friend of mine told me a story that shook me to the core. She was early 30s when it happened and is about 70 now. One time, she decided to bake a blueberry pie to bring when she was invited over for a small dinner with friends. The friends all loved it. One so much they requested a blueberry pie from her for their birthday that year. A few years passed and she never really thought about it. She was going through a really hard time and feeling depressed from compounding loss and struggling with some other personal barriers. She said she was contemplating suicide for quite some time, but on one particular day, she was making a plan to take her life. That morning, her phone rang and she let it go to the answering machine. "Janet, I know it's been a while, but my birthday is coming up and I'd die for your perfect blueberry pie. Give me a call back. I hope you can join us for dinner when someone gets quiet. Reach out first." Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.